Welcome back to Change Ed.
Change it.
The #1 podcast, not only in Montgomery County or Carbon-Lehigh Intermediate Unit area, but also the greater Philadelphia area.
Wow.
It just gets expanding
I feel
and
like
growing.
last time it was like everywhere. This
Yeah.
time it's just southeastern PA.
Well, what I meant was like other podcasts are shutting down. It's almost like, our podcast is
We're
becoming
taking
famous.
over.
Yeah.
Monopoly.
Yeah, let's keep moving on. I'm the host of the show, Andrew Kuhn, education consultant from Montgomery County.
Self-elected host, by the way.
Yes. It was a nomination process. And with me is
Patrice Semichek, also out of the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit, and I am an EC.
EC.
That's good. It's improved since last time.
Thanks.
And Tony Marabito from Carbon-Lehigh Intermediate Unit, SDF, for those that are still wondering, staff development facilitator.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, that was one of our #1 fan mail responses. What is SDF? So I'm glad we clarified that. We have with us on today's show a super with us, MaryJo Yannacone. Welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to have you from the Springfield Township School District here in Montgomery County.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Good to have you. Would you mind just introducing yourself a little bit? We know you from working with you and all the great things that are happening at Springfield Township, but if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself to the Change Ed Nation, please.
Sure. Hello, everyone in Change Ed Nation. My name is MaryJo Yannacone. I am the proud superintendent of the School District of Springfield Township in Montgomery County here in Orland, Pennsylvania. This is my 34th year in education and my 4th year as the superintendent of the district. I've been in Springfield Township for a little over 6 years. I came in as an assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction in December of 2020, a fun time.
What a transition.
A nice transition. Yes. It's been exciting and fun, and I'm really happy in the role. Before this, I spent 15 years as a high school principal in Delaware County in the Wallingford-Swarthmore School District at Strathaven High School. Shout out to Strathaven, a great place as well. And before that, I taught high school English for 13 years.
Oh,
In
no.
Marble Newtown School District.
High school
Also,
English. We're going to have to
Marble.
behave.
Orange and
Tigers,
black.
right?
Tigers. Orange and black. Love them too. Great time in Marble Newtown.
I was a lion. We were orange and black too.
Yeah. It's Halloween every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
Well, MaryJo, I have actually been at Montgomery County Intermediate for 4 years as well. And as you know, that was part of the negotiation contract. I'm like, look, if you guys hire MaryJo as a superintendent, then I will come to MCIU. That was part of the negotiation. So I'm glad it worked out for both
appreciated
of
your
us.
support.
Wow. The clout this man thinks he has.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Head barely fits through the room these days.
Oh,
Actually-
you should see the
I do
swelling.
like his bow tie.
Thank
do
you.
like his bow tie.
Yeah.
Oh no, his head's gonna get big.
Well, MaryJo, we've worked with you and we've been having lots of conversations with you about artificial intelligence, and it's taken over not just conversations in education, but really everywhere. You know, there's a lot of conversations about what is generative AI and what does it mean immediately, and then what does it mean moving forward in the future. And I'd love to get your perspective, especially from where you're at in your district. What do the conversations look like, and what is the perception of AI from your standpoint?
Sure. I mean, it's an exciting topic. And I will acknowledge until the fall of 2022, I didn't know anything about artificial intelligence. It wasn't on my radar at all. And I have a good friend who's in higher ed out in Connecticut, and she introduced me to Matthew Ball's book, The Metaverse, and how it's going to change everything, and strongly encouraged me to read it and sort of get up to speed on AI. And I can't say I enjoyed the book. It's a challenging read. It's a terrifying read, but it got me thinking about artificial intelligence in education and what we needed to do to start to get ready. And that sort of got the ball rolling. And since then, that winter, I introduced the book to my administrative team, really enjoyed conversations with them. And then we introduced it to the staff a little over a year ago. And I've been really energized and inspired by the approach of our staff, K through 12, but in particular at the secondary level, the kind of risk taking that our staff is willing to do to be innovative, to try things out and see how they change the way students learn, and to be open to the technology has been fantastic.
So I have to ask, as a former English teacher, because we hear this all the time, especially in this specific discipline. How do you think, or what is your response to, it sounds like your teachers are taking the ball and running with it, which is very exciting, because that is maybe even a misconception on our part. But ELA specifically seems to be the place where most teachers are like, we need to figure out how to block it. We need to figure it out so they're not cheating, so they're not this, so they're not that. So how are you handling that, if that's happening? If not, do you think that the reading of the book has helped your teachers kind of push past that?
Well, I want to make sure I'm clear. The teachers weren't asked to read the book.
Okay.
I just introduced the subject to them using Matthew's book.
Okay.
But I will say, I think it's an understandable fear of teachers that we have this unbelievably powerful new tool. We don't know where it's headed, how powerful it will become. And I think it's understandable to want to support academic integrity and good ethics in our students. And when I was a high school English teacher, I taught academic integrity and how do we properly cite our sources and vet our sources. And it's what I've shared with our teachers. And we've been meeting on a regular basis since last winter to just talk about what are the concerns and challenges that they have. I think it's a constant concern. This is just a different tool. So that's how we've approached it. This tool, artificial intelligence, generative AI, ChatGPT, Copilot, whatever you're looking at, has the same core ethical concerns, which is how do we teach students to properly vet sources? How do we help them to triangulate sources? To use a doctoral word that for you, Andrew, there you can definitely
use that when you're getting yours.
Yeah, exactly. And how do we make sure that students understand that academic integrity is something worthwhile?
Well, that's a big one.
It is. It is.
Because it's so easy to throw it into ChatGPT, let it spit something out for you, and then, okay, I'm done.
Exactly. And I do think teenagers today, in my experience, they want to have their own voice. They want to develop their own voice. And so tapping into that and saying, look, it's true that you can pull down content, but why don't we use it as a brainstorming tool? Instead of something that is going to write your paper for you without your voice. And so that's sort of the approach we're taking.
I love that.
Doesn't mean the teachers aren't. They're vetting tools. Like right now, our secondary teachers in ELA in particular are using Brisk.
Oh, okay.
And so they had asked us to pilot a few tools within the district. And one of them that they requested was Brisk. And we're having good feedback on the use of that, in particular in ELA.
I like that one too, because you can add that it's like an add-on. So like you can just
extension.
Yeah, I love it. One of the things that you said made me think about my 10-year-old, and I'm sorry if I'm talking too much, but my 10-year-old who has a writing disability, we've been talking a lot about, he's like, Mom, can I just throw everything into ChatGPT? I don't know why I can just talk to it and it can put all the things that I'm saying into thoughts. And I said, we've talked a lot about it at home. And the conversation that we keep coming back to with my 10-year-old is you can put thoughts in there and it can help you, but it can't take away what you're thinking, because his storytelling is super fun. But when you put it all in there and just say, make this, it's not his story anymore. And so I think going back to what you're saying, I try to relate it to, he's very into his MetaQuest and creating videos in his MetaQuest for his YouTube channel, because he's going to be the next Mr. Beast, because aren't all 10-year-olds?
Yes.
So I try to say to him like that, right? I think that's if we can get our kids to go there and say, like you were saying, about keeping your uniqueness and using it to help maybe spur on an idea to create something. Or maybe I've said to him too, since your learning difference is hard for you to handle the mechanics, maybe you throw it in there and ask it to check your writing, not necessarily do the writing for you. So I'm hopeful for our kids and I'm hopeful for our teachers, because I think it could be really powerful and impactful and help save time. But like you said, it's just a different tool. It's another way of doing things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I think about what is the point of writing, right? There are lots of different, you look at purpose and you look at audience. And as long as our students are meeting those expectations, I'm happy for them to use whatever tools are available to them, right? To get there, as long as they can present that content in a way that demonstrates that they understand and that they own what they're saying and what they're writing. That's going to require integrity, right? Personal integrity, because it's going to now become my voice, my authorship, my message, whether it's a speech or a paper or a project. And so if we can teach that to our students, I do think it's an unbelievably powerful tool.
MaryJo, you're in such a unique position because you have to, serve your students, your teachers, your admin, but also you have to deal with school board and community and parents as well. So have you had any conversations around policy or things like that, and communicating with all of those constituents, for lack of a better term, around AI, and how do you kind of go about that and navigate that?
Sure. So what we decided to do, I met with my director of technology a little over a year ago and talked about the fact that I wanted us, the two of us, to get up to speed on artificial intelligence. Let's get educated ourselves. So the first thing we did was attend a 3-day conference out in Kutztown that AJ Giuliani put on.
Oh, it's great.
A lot of information. It was at times inspiring, at times overwhelming, but it was a great 3 days. And we brought one of our technology coaches as well to join us. And then we surveyed the entire staff. And so last December, we asked, what do you know about AI? How are you feeling about it? What are your fears? What are you hoping it can do for you? Where are you in your exploration of the resources that are out there? And once we had that information, we were able to start meeting with a core team of educators, counselors, psychologists, nurses. We started meeting with staff members to say, what are you hoping for out of this? And what kinds of policy can we develop? And then I had somebody say to me a little while ago, the best teachers are the best thieves. And so we went to Teach AI, which had some fantastic resources, and AJ had shared that with us. And we pulled down a draft policy and just started to work with that committee. And for over a period of 5 months, we were able to draft guidelines and recommendations while we waited for PSBA to bring forward policy. And we shared those guidelines and recommendations in May of this year with our staff. They were collaboratively developed and they were focused on the staff. We didn't look at student use just yet. We just looked at staff use. And then thankfully over the summer when PSBA released 815.1 and they had used Teach AI as their core source, we had significant alignment between our recommendations and guidelines and the new recommended state policy. So we've adopted that policy. We adopted it in early September. It is the guiding force for us. And currently we're using that committee that initially developed recommendations and guidelines. We've used that committee now to vet potential tools. So we're currently piloting in our second year. We did a 6-month pilot, so we've jumped on with Magic School and Brisk. And right now we're holding tight with those 2 resources and letting our teachers get acclimated.
That's awesome.
And our board has been tremendously supportive. They understand the significance of artificial intelligence. They are professionals themselves. They're seeing it in their own fields. And so we've had nothing but support.
I'm so fascinated by this on so many levels. I have not read Matthew Ball's book.
I just bought it.
Okay. but
it's on my Kindle
actually,
now.
The thing that is really resonating with me right now is that this is such a pivotal moment for us and an opportunity for us to be leaders in this space as an educational institution. What is in my mind right now is that there are so many things where when we talk to individuals who've been around for a while, they're like, oh, I wish I had invested in Apple when they came out with that iPhone. I wish I had. And I feel like that's what the AI is going to be, where you're like, man, I wish I had invested in that when it was there, when I could get into it earlier, when I could have been part of that. And I think that it's important for us as an educational institution to have a very strong, well-established philosophy when it comes to AI and the use of AI. And I love the stance that you've taken, and really I feel like in the superintendent position, you have this opportunity to really be a conduit of possibilities. Let's just have the conversation, right? Let's have the dialogue. Who knows where it's going to go?
Yeah.
But opening up the doors to possibilities through conversation, I think, is such a powerful tool. And really, the way you're going about it, AI has the ability to bring us together. We could let it divide us if we let it, but you're allowing it to bring each other together.
Well, and I think I appreciate that. And I think one of the things that our staff have adopted as practice, and if this is something that both our middle school and our high school teachers are using readily, is something that we learned in that workshop that AJ brought forward, which is a stoplight metaphor for the use of AI. And teachers really found this accessible and they're finding it effective.
Nice.
And so red light, no AI is allowed to be used for this particular assignment. Yellow light, you can use AI, but the final product is yours. And I want you to vet what you're using with me as your teacher. And then green light, go wild. Find out what you can find out within the filters we have for you.
Yeah.
Right.
But go ahead and see what you can find out. And just using that simple stoplight metaphor, part of the reason why some of our teachers really enjoyed that approach is we're communicating clearly to students our expectations, and we're explaining why is this a red light assignment? Because I really want to hear your voice. This is a personal essay. It's not something where I want you pulling down some sort of cohesive list of possible personal statement topics. Instead, I want to really hear you. So let's do some work, and we'll give you some time to brainstorm on your own, but no use of AI. And then other times, hey, is it really true that AI could cure cancer? Let's see where it is. Go ahead, go find out what's out there.
Right.
And so I think depending on the topic, being really clear with students about and communicating those expectations and reinforcing the why is essential as we continue to use these tools.
And I think it's important too, because you're allowing kids to know that it's not never. We're not saying that you can never use this tool. We're saying that there are points in which we who are still learning about it and you who are still learning about it think that it's best that we want to try it on our own first. Because I think sometimes we, like Andrew said, the lock it and block it. Like it's either an all or nothing. I mean, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. So I really love that. And I'm definitely going to have to look more into what AJ has got written up about that stoplight.
Yeah. And I also, I want to acknowledge we're doing the same with our staff from an administrative standpoint. Here are the ways in which you can use AI in your classroom. Years ago, there were conversations about teachers pay teachers, right? Is this okay? Am I allowed to use this resource? And our approach is you can use a resource if it will help you to help our students to be more effective communicators, stronger critical thinkers, et cetera. When we look at our profile of a graduate, those core skills, that's what we're looking for.
Right.
And so if the tool is effective in helping you get there, then you can use it. I would say that right now, the area where we're being more cautious is in the use of it for things like writing IEPs or writing some draft documents that typically would be vetted through legal. And so we want to make sure that we're protecting our students, protecting our staff and the district, making sure that any resources that we use are vetted sufficiently for safety. And so we're also sort of giving that red light, yellow light, green light to our staff. And again, with our staff, one of the things I shared as I went to our director of technology and I met with each of our faculties last winter, early spring. And we shared just an overview of where we feel we are with AI and answered questions. And one of the things that I shared is you need to keep in mind that you are still ultimately responsible for anything that you put in front of students. That's always been the case, right? It's always been the case. If you present a particular article, vetting that article, and why are you presenting that article? What is the rationale for using that as a resource? It's no different when you pull information from AI.
Right.
You're responsible for making sure that the information is accurate. And so it can be an efficiency tool for a teacher, It can help you to personalize work for students. In particular, our teachers, our occupational therapists, physical therapists, our nurses, our special education teachers see tremendous potential for personalization and differentiation using AI. And we want to allow them to do that to meet the needs of every student. But we also want them to keep in mind that they need to make sure that what they're presenting is truthful.
You know, what I'm hearing from you, MaryJo, that I actually haven't really heard from others before is that you're making this communal. This is like, we're going to do this together. And from what you were talking about with the traffic light analogy is like, it's also purposeful, right? Like this is a moment where we're going to dive into this work together. We're going to, you know, put the rest aside and we're going to go in together. Let's use it as a resource, or we can dive in. I think a lot of it again comes back to that, having a strong philosophy and what role we play as individuals, what role technology can play for us, you know, in that. And it was John Spencer who, in his book, he talked about being human-centered with technology infused, not being technology-centered with humans infused. I'm hearing that perspective play out as you're sharing and talking.
Absolutely. And I'm glad to hear that you hear Spencer, because that was the other book study that our administrative team did last summer. We read Spencer's Vintage Innovation.
Oh, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm such a
fantastic resource. And last year we utilized Spencer's book and the whole mindset around taking the best of all available tools, not being afraid of what the future holds, but really embracing the opportunities of the future while holding on to the vintage tools that work, right? There are still many ways in which paper and pencil, actual builds, design build projects have a tremendous impact on student learning. We have a project at our middle school where the kids do Rube Goldberg machines.
That's
it's
awesome.
all hands-on, right? That's all design built. But they learn a lot about physics and a lot about teamwork and collaboration from that project. So we believe in vintage innovation, and AI is just another example of merging that future opportunity with what's already existing.
I do want to point out too, what I appreciate how, MaryJo, you're always inviting other people in to the conversation. You're here at this level, like I'm always hearing MaryJo wants to do this. And I'm like, yes, that's so exciting. So I love that you're always open and willing to say, here's what I'm learning. Let's go deeper here. Let's do this together. So I deeply appreciate what you're doing, not only for Springfield Township, but you're helping pull Montgomery County along in this area. So I feel thankful that you're willing to be on this podcast to talk to us, because I do deeply appreciate your willingness to bring people in and bring people along. Like, it's very obvious that that's part of just who you are. So I just wanted to say that.
I also wanted to mention, I appreciate that you never mentioned fear or afraid of using anything. Like, you just kind of dove in. You wanted to learn about it first, obviously, and then you carried through with it. You never mentioned any of the negative aspects, because there can be, the cheating aspect and all of that. But I love that you were never afraid to take that first step. So thank you for that. That's very refreshing to know, and that your leadership can, hopefully others can reflect that as well.
Well, I mean, I appreciate, first of all, I appreciate, Patrice, the positive feedback. It's nice to hear. And Tony, sometimes I think this can sound trite, but we do look at these tools as, they can be a tool or a weapon, right?
Right.
Well, there's the big conversation right now about cell phones. Cell phones can be a tool or a weapon. And I think the core of it is the ethical treatment of any resource and helping students and staff to understand how important ethics is.
Yes.
Academic integrity is, personal integrity is. If we grow good people, then we will use these as tools and not weapons, and we'll help to grow adults, who are good citizens. I mean, it's in our mission statement, is developing good citizenship. So for me, it's not the last. I'm sure there'll be other tools that will come that can also be used as a weapon, right? Nuclear energy can be a tool or a weapon.
Right.
And so I'm all about, and as far as teamwork is concerned, I'm very fortunate. I believe in teamwork. I was an athlete. That's where it started for me as a young kid. And I'm really, really fortunate to work with some amazing professionals.
You do tend to snag all the good people. You got a lot of good people over there.
I hope that we continue to draw great people in Springfield. Absolutely.
MaryJo, as we're wrapping up this show, which is fantastic, thank you for coming on, and a lot more that we could talk to you. But I appreciate hearing your philosophy, and it's also a breath of fresh air to know that others are having these same conversations. And I guarantee you that people are going to start referencing this, just like you were referencing AJ Giuliani. They're going to say that podcast with MaryJo on that amazing show when she said
that amazing show.
So we'd like to give you a second to last final thought for the show. Anything that you would like to revisit or share, or something you didn't get to say that you would like to say about how amazing this show is? Go ahead.
Well, I appreciate the only thing that I would share that might be fun for you guys is I didn't listen to a single podcast until the beginning of this summer.
Oh, at all?
And so I enjoyed I've enjoyed the last half an hour with you guys on this podcast. I listened to my first podcast in June. I listened to Julia Louis-Dreyfus's
Oh yeah, I heard that's a good one. Yeah.
Podcast because my Sirius broke in my car.
Oh, no.
And I found myself moving to Spotify and listening to podcasts. Yeah. And so I really have started to enjoy what's out there in the world of podcasts.
Some fun stuff.
So thank you for adding to the conversation.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
And thanks for having me.
There's this up and coming one called Change Ed. Make sure you like and subscribe.
I'm going to like and subscribe to Change Ed. I think it'll be fantastic.
Even if it's just for one episode, because really.
That's right.
Once you've heard one, you've heard them all. I'm just kidding.
I really, truly appreciate you taking the time to be here and be with us. And one of the things that really stood out to me was something you had said about teachers pay teachers. And the reason that stood out to me is because I think a lot of what we experience in life is about perspective, and that we can sometimes only see, as high as we've gone on the mountaintop, we can only see that far. But then, if there were clouds there, we're like, oh, the mountain actually goes higher, and we can go a little bit higher and see a little bit further. And so where I'm going with that is that right now, generative AI is the big issue. It's the big thing that we're talking about. But now that we see how things can flow and how they can go, and it is a world of possibilities. Not that it hasn't been before, but now it's really a world of possibilities. In a few years, I didn't even want to write down a time frame. The conversation is going to be different, to where generative AI will be more like teachers pay teachers. We're like, yeah. That's not the issue now. Now we're concerned about something different. And so what's exciting about that is, again, within those possibilities, there is space for everybody. And we just have to have the conversations and the willingness to enter into them and look at both sides, right? There's plenty of reasons why we shouldn't even be talking about AI. And there are so many more reasons why we should be so much farther than we are. And in a lot of ways, it can always be a checks and balances. So we don't go too fast. We're kind of like, how do we, again, involving everyone? So, and I think one of the important things for each person as they dive into AI and they look into it is to know who they are and to know what matters to them, so that they can kind of ground themselves as they get into that space. Again, taking that John Spencer philosophy of being human focused and technology infused. So know who you are as a person. Be true to yourself. As you were saying, that the ethical use of resources, knowing what those are so that you can lean on that as a lighthouse as you're venturing out into the ocean of AI.
Oh, wow. There's a lot of analogies there.
An extended metaphor.
Yes,
no, I forgot you were an English teacher.
Yeah. Thank you, MaryJo.
You're welcome.
So again, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for all the work you do and for being one of our #1 fans on Change Ed. Please remember, to all of our listeners, to like, subscribe, and share this episode.
Wow. Two times in a row you remembered the words.
Yeah. Great ending.
Great ending.
But the way we record it, it'll be so spread out, they'll be like, what are you talking about? Last time you botched it.
That's true.
Yeah.
You really tied it all together well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, man. You complimented his bow tie.
I know.
Now you're giving him
that's
compliments.
way too many compliments.
MaryJo is my favorite.
I have to deal with it.
But I would give him a B+ on his metaphor. So.
That's true. That's true. I will take that.
You're breaking up, MaryJo. We can't hear you anymore.
B+ on his metaphor. That makes me happy.
Dang it.
Me too. That's going to go in a frame.
It's going on. Andrew Kuhn has B+ metaphors.
That feels good. That feels right too.
All right. Well, really-
Thank you so much
thank
for
you.
giving up your
Thank you.
time and missing your meeting to
Oh,
talk
it was
to
my
us.
pleasure. You guys are fun to talk with.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you.
And now I have to go back and like and subscribe.